Hey guys, welcome to another video on the channel, and in today's video we'll be talking about the KingStyle Live that came out today, and it had a lot of news in it. It was a little bit shorter than the others, but honestly it was way better because of the news that was in it, in my opinion. But before we get into it guys, be sure to drop a like and or sub. I do post as much as I can on the channel here, and I try to keep you guys up to date in terms of everything meta related and obviously news, stuff like that. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into things right away. So first up, we have the new spells. Of course, every school is going to be getting a couple of new spells within a new world expansion update and whatnot. So these are the new spells.
Shot an alien heaven reach as well.
Okay, so pretty cool, right? I honestly liked a lot of these spells in my opinion. There's probably only one that I thought was kind of mid, but honestly, all really cool spells. Now, there has been some speculation in the community about the pip cost. If you're a wizhead like myself, you can obviously use the developers' formulas to, how they make the spells, the math and such. And the math is basically indicating it's either going to be a 7 pip card or a 6 pip card that has a school pip attached to it. So when we look at something like Novus and Walroo the past 2 years, Teacup is technically a 5 pip spell with the school pip, right? So we've had Teacup and we've had Bunyip the past 2 years with Walroo and Novus. Now, going into this next year, I think there's going to go 1 pip higher into 6 pips with the school pip. I think that makes a lot of sense and kind of, validates my theory. Another point that makes my 6 pip school pip theory more valid in terms of it being a raw burst damage hit is if you look at the numbers and the math on it, it actually does follow their damage per pip stuff that's kind of similar to Myth Ninja Pigs. Now, in case you guys don't know, basically Myth with Ninja Pigs has been like an insanely demonic spell for quite some time now, right? And a lot of people were complaining about this because Myth just simply had like one of the best 6 pip burst spells in the game because of the school pip. But if we look at the trailer here, it looks like KingStyle is probably going to be giving every school an equivalent to Ninja Pigs at the 6 pip range, which I think is really cool. That standardizes the game, makes it fair and competitive for everybody, which I think is great. So the theories behind, Storm Ninja Pigs and stuff like that, and people wanting a good, iced burst damage hit for 6 pips are seeming to be true here and all. So I think that's really good, and I hope we are right about this. What backs my theory more, guys, is the fact of the matter that Myth and Life are the only 2 outliers here. Life is obviously a heal, it's Life, of course, but Myth is the one spell, or the one school, sorry, that did not actually follow the burst damage formula. And the reason for that is simply because they already have Ninja Pigs in the game. They can't make the same spell in the game twice. That's why the Myth spell in the trailer, or whatever they showed, was not the same as the other ones that they showed. If I had to guess, I think the Myth spell is probably going to be an AoE with a utility on it because it was honestly really freaking weak. But yeah, man, I'm honestly just praying and hoping that they do make them all 6-pip burst damage hits for the sake of balancing, and they'll actually be useful as well for both PvE and PvP. Like, dude, the Storm Ninja Pigs, oh my god. And it's like a frog too. It looks so cool. It's such a quick card. Like, dude, I'm so hyped. They better get this right. I will be so happy as a Storm main. Okay, so next up, we're going to be talking about weaving schools. Now, this stuff is very complicated, so try and stay with me when I explain this, guys. So, basically, a weaving school is basically like a dual school if you played the game for a while now. So, basically, I'm on my Storm. Right now, I can go in and primarily dual school with any of the 6 other schools in the game. And this is what it would look like essentially on the screen, right? So this guy is a life dueling into Storm. So you can see him have 2 little school icons on the player card. And then, of course, you get a cool little name as well that synergizes with your school, which I think is really good. And obviously, you can change your dual school, which is really good. These trees are going to be teaching you new spells, which is really, really cool. And they also said that each tree will have very intricate, detailed dialogue that will explain the identity and how your school pairs in with the other schools, which I think is really, really cool. Instead of getting like one linear path, we're actually getting like 6 others that kind of explain things a bit more, which honestly I think is a good direction for Wiz to go, in my opinion. Obviously, it's a lot more work for the devs and all, but I think, having more player agency, player choice, and really customizing your experience is really good. I think a lot of players would like that. Keep in mind, the choice will not be permanent. Your weaving school will be able to be changed, and when you change your weaving school, it's not going to cost crowns. I know a lot of people were trolling, being like, oh, it'll cost crowns. But no, it's free to play and such, which is really cool. Then the new spells will cost training points. But when you switch your weaving school, you will actually get those training points back. So let's say I'm in a weave school on my Storm into fire, but I want to switch to ice, and I spent like 5 training points on the fire one, and I go to ice, I'll get those 5 back that I can then use on the ice Storm weaving dual school, which again, I think is great. Some players are also speculating that your weaving school would give you a mastery, which honestly I thought they would do. That would be really cool in my opinion. But they said they're not going to be doing that. Instead, they're doubling down and staying with Arch Mastery, which some people might not be happy about that, but again, no matter what, some people are going to be happy, some people aren't. Also, they confirmed the fact of the matter that you cannot weave school with shadow magic, star, sun, or moon. They said they're open to doing it in the future, but as of right now, they're going to stay with the 7 main schools in the game. Okay, so next up, let's talk about the rewards for going into the weaving school and participating in the content. So there are 3 levels starting from Dragonspire all the way to Safaria. So every time you level up, you will get a reward. So at level 1, I might get this new spell, which is called Energy Blade, which is like a really good main deck dual blade card. Could be really good. And then level 2, I'm probably going to get my dual school Pierce Jewels, which is really good. A lot of people have been waiting on that for a while now. Really excited to get my hands on those. And the third thing, they're keeping a mystery until next week. Now, something they talked about here in this point also is going to be the fact of the matter that your cards you get here are going to depend on your school. So the one we see on the screen is Storm. Storm owns blades, so a Storm is probably going to get a dual blade for every school. So Storm and Fire, Storm and Life, as you can see on the screen, so on, so forth, right? But if we take a trapping school like Ice, Myth, or Fire, it might look like the blade, but just for traps, which again, I think is really cool. Some of these might be a little too good. I'm thinking the ones that are kind of like shields and maybe chromatic weaknesses with death may be a little too good. And please keep in mind, guys, this stuff is optional, right? If you are an endgame player but you don't want to do this, it's not going to be really too big of an update. Or, if you're somebody who just wants to go through the game, replay the game in a lot of different ways with a weaving school, this update will be really good for you as a casual player, or just even as somebody like me. If I want to replay Wiz in like a weaving school kind of way, that could be really cool for like a walkthrough, right? I think this update has something for everybody, but it's not something that's exactly mandatory for PvE or the meta. The only part of this update that is mandatory, arguably, well, not really arguably, it is mandatory, is going to be for the advanced content in the game, like raids, like PvP. But obviously that stuff is way more competitive, and that's why it's advanced content and not PvE. But I want to make that point very clear here. You do not need to do this stuff if you're a casual player. They're just essentially going back and giving you more ways to play the game, which I think is great. And I'm going to keep it a buck, y'all. This is technically an off year for Wiz, and in my opinion, I think this is the best thing they could have done, right? They're trying to give us a new little area, the Selenopolis world or whatever area, which is good. I can appreciate that effort. We'll see it when we see it, obviously, and such. They're also expanding on the libraries, and they're also going back and fixing the game and doubling down of basically making Wiz again, which I think is great. As someone who loves this game but is also very critical on the game, I think this is the best thing they could have done for the future of Wiz, in my opinion. And this direction is really good. Very happy with it. I can't really tell you a bad thing about this update so far. If I had to guess, guys, I'm assuming Test Realm is going to be coming out next week. And if I had to guess, it'll probably launch on like November 5th or like November 10th, if I really had to guess. But we'll have to see. That is all the news I have for today, guys. I will keep you up to date, so be sure you're subscribed with noties on and such. What do you think about the stuff in the comments below? I'm really curious to read it. And of course, leave a like, helps out a lot. And I hope to see you on the next one. Thank you for watching, and take care.